door to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
And this is Home Repairs and Solutions, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air. Your host today is Mary Pearson, and she has guest Jeff Hansen here. This show is sponsored by Spring Mountain Air, your place to get for all your heating and air needs. Now here's Mary.
Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Mary.
Mark was going to be here with me today, but he kind of had some sad news yesterday. I got a text from him. I was at home. We were with our family and everything, and I got a text, and he actually lost his mother-in-law yesterday.
Yes.
So
if you would give him our condolences, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely. And so I'm sad that he's not here today, and that they had that happen in their family. But we'll just keep him in our thoughts and prayers and hope everything goes okay for them. Yes. So we are going to start out the show here. We have Jeff Hansen with us. He's been with us on the show before.
I was this spring. Thanks for the invitation again.
You were, and Jeff is with Hansen's Tree Service.
That is correct.
And I know that this time of year, there's lots of things that are going on in people's yards that they probably need some either advice or some professional help with.
Well, we will. They'd like to give us a call this morning. We will do our very best to help them any way that we can, Mary. It was a very, very tough summer on trees. That drought stress was tough on your turf and your trees. And like I said, if there's something that we can do to help somebody listening this morning, we'll be glad to do that and try to educate them as we go along this morning here on things that you'd like to discuss.
Well, I know that the heat was really hard on trees and, like you said, on grass and all that type of thing. And down at the lake where we're at, we really had a lot of damage, it seemed like, that appeared this summer. First of all, we had that flooding and the high water a couple years ago, so we had some trees that sat in water for a very long time.
Right.
And some of them died when the water receded. Some of them were okay, but then this summer with the drought, we lost more trees.
Sure.
So what should you do? If someone has some trees and they're concerned about, should they be watering them? What should they do with them right now? Because we still are pretty dry.
Oh, absolutely, Mary. You know what? I spent a week in August with my wife and some guys out of our St. Louis location at the the International Society of Arboriculture Convention out in Oregon. Mm-hmm. And like you were talking about, when you have water over the root system of trees for 4 or 5 months, like we did in 2008 and then 2011, and you got trees under stress anyway, and then you turn
Certainly.
around and go the other way. Mm-hmm. You drought stress them. They go from having too much water and not enough oxygen because the root systems are covered,
right,
to being bare and no water and cooking. And a lot of leaves dropped early this year because the trees were trying to hold on to what moisture they could, and it's Mother Nature's own way of trying to prevent, drought stress. But the best thing you can do right now, like you said, is water. If your hoses are still on, don't go out there and let it go for 3 or 4 minutes every day and move it to another tree. Do one tree a week and let the hose run. The best thing to do is let it run all night. Just lay the hose at a trickle next to the root flare of the tree and let it lay there all night long, Mary, because that way the ground can absorb it. The root system gets the moisture. And the other thing that you can do that we have started a program down here is Plant Health Care. Because right now, if you can get mycorrhiza injections into the ground and any kind of fertilizers into the ground, as the days start to get longer here, coming up in January and February, you get those fertilizers in the ground, and the trees start to absorb them and take them up for the spring rush, and they can actually help the tree come back. But absolutely, like I said, people need to realize the value of their landscape and their trees. You know, you and I are not going to be around again to watch a 36-year-old or 36-inch diameter oak tree grow.
Oh no,
It's not going to happen. You know, and people look out in their yard and they say, well, we got maintenance here and we got maintenance there and we got to have the house painted. And, you know, if you lose a tree like that, Gary, the value of the shade to your home, to your turf, you know, people are really starting to realize what these canopies are worth to them. And the more that, you know, the preventative maintenance, and I say that all the time, you know, we're on about 3 or 4 different radio stations down here consistently. You know, if people are proactive instead of reactive, they can prevent a lot of the damage. You know, there is no tree going to take a direct hit from a tornado and survive it. You know, we cleaned up Joplin, and I'm telling you, all that was left down there was totem poles. It broke every limb off every tree down there. But when you're talking 30 and 40 and 50-mile-an-hour wind gust, if you get the dead limbs out of the trees and you allow us to come in and prune that stuff out and raise the lower limbs up over your roof this time of the year so that when you get snow and ice, the weight doesn't shove the tree limb down on the roof. And then people say, well, why did the shingles only break in the wintertime? Well, because they get brittle. They're cold.
Sure.
The tree limb comes down from the weight of the ice and snow. They sit there and they rock back and forth all night long, and they just chip the edges of the shingles off, and then you get water in the house, and you're wondering what happened. So, again, it's just preventative maintenance. You know, give us a buzz, you know, and it doesn't cost. I'm not into high-pressure sales. Never have been. You know, Mike Walker is a kid that grew up here and runs a facility for us here, does a great job. And he's from Hartville, born and raised here, went to college at the Ozarks, went to work for us in 06, and he's been here since we started. And, you know, we're not interested in pressure selling. Shane Thomas is a certified arborist here from Republic. Shane works for us also, and these guys are out there trying to help people every day. I'm not into pressure selling, and neither are they. We'll give you a price and tell you what it's going to take to clean your trees up and do the best thing that we can do for them to help maintain them, to help preserve them, and move on from there.
Well, that was one of the questions I had, because I have noticed in some of the trees down around our area, we've had some, like, it looks like half of the tree died. Mm-hmm. So what do you do in an instant like that? I mean, is there any way to save it? Do you need to remove it? What do you need to do with something like that? We had one, and we had some soft maples down there, and every time the wind blew, something else would snap off. Even though part of that tree was still alive, there was some dead stuff throughout it, and eventually, well, and it was kind of it had several limbs that had come out of the
codominant stems.
Yes. And so we had one, and it was tall. One of them fell down and almost took the corner of our deck off. That I was a little excited when that happened, but it missed it. But then just as time went on, just as we would have winds down there, it would just continually snap that off, even though parts that were still alive. Well, eventually we just had to take it out because, first of all, it just looked weird because so much was busted out of it. But, you know, I know everyone tries to save their trees as much as they can, but when you have a situation like that, what really can you do?
What you're doing. I mean, anytime you've got a possibility of a structure hitting, or the tree hitting a structure, you have to ask yourself, what's the value of it? And, you know, just from your description, the best thing that you can do is keep that dead wood out of there. Anytime that you promote healing and keep the dead wood out, you have less disease infestation, you have less problems, period. So keeping the dead wood out when it's obvious that that part of the tree has died, getting rid of it is the best thing that you can do.
Okay, well, good, because that's kind of what we were trying to keep up with. But we had several down there that just seemed to have so much damage after this summer. Well, let me tell you, it was kind of difficult to.
The state of Missouri is being bombarded with disease. You know, the emerald ash borer was only in Wayne County in Missouri, and then in July the 12th of this year, they found it in several other counties down here up around Kansas City. So that's a problem. And then the thousand cankers disease, which is of the walnut trees, the walnut twig beetle. There's a quarantine in the state of Missouri on walnut trees. You're not supposed to bring walnut wood in or take walnut out. You've got wasp gall in the pin oaks. And now it wasn't a month ago, I got a email from the Department of Conservation that the pine shoot beetle has now been found in Macon and Maryland and Lewis counties in northern Missouri, and it'll start killing all the pine trees. So
Wow.
it just, I mean, we're going to have a mess here before too long, and people are going to have to really start paying attention to their trees and realizing what the value of them is to their landscape and their home.
Well, we have a caller on the line this morning. We have Dan with us from Tin Town. Good morning, Dan.
Hi, Mary. Good morning, guest.
Good morning to you, sir.
I missed your name.
Jeff Hansen.
Jeff. Good morning, Jeff. Mary, first a question for you. Are the shows archived anywhere? My wife is not available now, but I would like for her to hear the content of the show.
I can't hear.
Oh,
Hello?
He wanted to know if the shows are archived anywhere so that his wife could hear it later on today.
Yes, they are, as a matter of fact. I do record these, and then I upload them onto a YouTube channel, and then they are uploaded onto Spring Mountaineer's website under the radio tab. So if you go to www.springmountaineer.com, click on the radio tab, then this will be the first show that will pop up at the very top. I keep the last 4 there, and then if you want to view it after the 4 weeks are over, then you can go to Mary's list on our website, and all the shows are listed there.
Great. That is great.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Jeff, on your comments about the canopy and the shade,
Yes, sir.
I think maybe you're hitting on something that a lot of people aren't realizing. The first and foremost thing that affected us this year was the drought and how dry it's been.
Yes, sir.
But I kind of got to watching this year, and what grass that would grow or did grow was always on the shaded side of a building, under a tree, or in my case, I left my hay bales. I didn't stack them up this year because of the fire danger. I'd rather lose them one at a time instead of a stack at a time. And around every hay bale, my grass is twice the height. Now, the watering conditions didn't change for my place. The only thing that was changing was the amount of shade or the amount of the temperature of the ground.
Sure.
And so, is there any research into what temperature is bad for the trees? At what point does ground temperature a negative thing for them?
Well, there again, that's a very, very broad question, Dan, but it's a very well thought one. But any time that trees go through what's called transevaporation, which is they breathe through the stomata in the leaves. They have pores in the leaves where they can breathe, and when the stomata start closing up when they're drought stressed. So your trees go into a lockdown, a shock type of thing, and they've been in it all year long, and that's what happened, and that's what Mary's talking about. Then you start losing these trees. But that's one thing that I wanted to talk about, Dan. You take me right into another subject here. For years in the St. Louis area, I told people that oak bark mulch was no good for their plants. If you will get online and look up oak bark mulch on Ohio State, Iowa State, Penn State, now Mizzou, even Mizzou tells you that oak bark mulch is not the good thing to put around your plants because it's all carbon, there's no nitrogen in it, and when you put it around your plants, it literally leaches the nitrogen from the ground to break down the carbon in the wood. So the point I'm making here is the way we make mulch and the way that we make compost, if you would see the effects of compost, we did the MasterCard facility in O'Fallon, Missouri with compost, and we top-dressed it. We went through and aerated the turf, and we top-dressed it with a half-inch of compost. And the first year we were there, we saved them $1 million, Dan, on their water bill because the compost, you can water 30% less, but because of the organic matter in the soil, it holds the water longer.
Water retention.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. Great. This is a good show. I'm going to turn the radio back up and get off the line. Let maybe another caller get in. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for calling in today. We might want to give out our number for people listening. If you have a question for Jeff or are concerned about your trees or what you need to do at this point, you can give us a call here this morning at 862-9977 or 1-800-375-0056. That was a good question.
It is, and like I said, there's so much out there. You know, when you had me on in the spring, and like I said, I appreciate you inviting us on here. I didn't even get off the show when the phone was ringing in the parking lot. People saying, where's your website? Where's your facility? So I want to give that this morning if you don't mind. So
No,
people,
absolutely.
I mean, you've got it up right here, right now. Our website, folks, there's a lot of great information here. It's Hansen's with an E, HANSENSTREE.com. And our phone number here in Springfield is 417-877-8733, 877-TREE. And we have a facility out here at Brookline, right on West Sunshine and Highway 60, where we recycle. You know, I've always thought, Mary, I would rather have a part of something, a piece of something, than 100% of nothing.
Sure.
And I'm one of these kind of guys that we get along very well here with Noel Boyer and All About Trees, with Mike's Tree Service. And Noel is a very bright guy, and so is Mike. And these guys bring us their wood waste. They're not burning it anymore. They're not dumping it in ditches anymore, because it's not wood waste, Mary. It's a wood resource. And when people see the things that we make out of this stuff, and, you know, the soils, we have the best dirt in all of Springfield. We're not selling now to the major landscaping companies here because we don't. There's a lot of people will sell you down here a lot of clay. They'll screen the rock out of it, but the soil's nasty. You come and look at our dirt, and we mix compost with it so that it has organic value as soon as you put it in your beds. A lot of the Master Gardener Clubs, we have people from here will come down to our location in Reed Springs because they don't realize that we're over at Brookline, and haul it all the way back to Springfield.
Oh, my.
Just through the Master Gardeners Club. And but we have dirt under roof. Unless there's been a lot of water for a long time, we have dry dirt 365 days a year. We keep it under roof. We use a conveyor and put it inside the building. And so if you're wanting to do a raised bed this time of year, you know, everybody says, well, when's the best time to get it ready? Well, really, Mary, the best time to do a raised bed is right now. Because then it's ready for spring.
That's right.
You're not fighting the weather. You're
Sure.
not fighting. You can go in there and start planting. And like I said, this tree business, the St. Louis Business Journal, Rick Deloge did an article on us a few years ago, and he said, man, you guys are just a recycling company that's disguised by a tree business. And we started out in the tree business. We were the first company in 2005 to be accredited by the Tree Care Industry Association, and we were the only company in the state of Missouri to have that accreditation, and for over 5 years. Now there's 4 or 5 companies here, but in order to be accredited, it's a highly regarded ordeal. And there's a lot of qualifications that you have to comply with. And we won the 2011 Torch Award last year from the Better Business Bureau, which was an honor. And we've been on the Angie's List Super Service Award winner for over 6 years. And, you know, we're going to be here for a long time. We're here to stay. And our mulch and our compost, we make it all ourselves. It is organic mulch. It's not oak bark mulch. Does it have oak in it? Yes, it has some oak in it. But the other thing, Mary, we just did a huge clearing job in Joplin. We just did a large apartment complex here right in the middle of Springfield. And a lot of the architects here and a lot of the builders here are learning that we're more than just a tree business. And we work with a lot of the contractors, Allen at R&H and Jernigan and APAC and all these guys that are doing road work and clearing, because we grind the trees up and we use them as a valuable resource, not a waste product. And so we turn that stuff around, and it has leaves in it Whereas oak bark mulch has no leaves in it. It's just debarked. It's a scrap product, and that's why they sell it cheap. And that's why when you go out and you put 10 new plants in your yard and you put oak bark mulch in it and 4 of them die.
Yes.
People couldn't figure that out for years. It's because the mulch is leaching the nitrogen from the ground to break down the carbon, and it's creating more trouble. Looks like we got another phone call here from Tom and Branson that you'd like to take.
We do. Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. I just tuned in, so you may have already talked about this, but do you accept, I heard you say that some of the tree services bring trees in to you. Do you accept from the general public trees to come in for compost?
Tom, we've got a green resource facility right there in Hollister, up on the hill there across the highway from College of the Ozarks. And they usually charge you $5 to $10 to get rid of your leaves, or sometimes it's less than that. What I'm trying to promote here is what I've done in St. Louis for many years, is to get people to quit burning this material and to bring it to us so that we can turn around and recycle it and make organic matter that is great for the soils down here and get it back to people and show them what it does.
Okay.
And
there is a minimal charge.
Very minimal charge. And we have worked with the city of Branson for years down there, and like I said, we'd be glad to help you.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your call.
Do you have a number for that facility?
I do. It is 417, Tom, if you're still there, 417-272-TREE, 272-8733. And again, the phone number up here is 877-TREE, 877-8733. And like I said, Shane Thomas and Sean Gunnels are two great employees we have up here, and Walker runs the whole facility, and these guys do a great job. Our business at Brookline, Mary, has done about 500% increase this year.
Wow.
People found out about our mulch. They found out about our dirt. I'll throw his name out there. Glenn Wickman called me in September. I never met the man before in my life. And Glenn asked me to come over to his facility and meet him and Jim on a job they were looking at. And he sat across the table and he looked at me and he said, "Jeff, you guys got something here." And he said, "This compost you guys make," and he said, "You guys got something here." And he said, and that's kind of stuff. I don't want to be in the landscaping business. I'm not in the landscaping business.
Right.
But when you got guys like Glenn Wickman who have been here for years, and they're telling you, "Hey, you got something here," that compost, you put it on tomatoes, you put it in your vegetable garden, you put it in your flower gardens. These master gardener clubs and these people are not coming to us, Mary, because we're not telling them the truth.
Sure.
So it just, whatever we can do to help, that's what we're here for.
We're going to have to take a break right now, but please stay tuned. We'll be right back with some more great information for you here.
Here's news on the Ozarks News Network. All 5 victims of a Thanksgiving fire in Wheaton have been identified. Mary Henning, Brandon Thurston, Jay Dimmick, Molly Doherty, and Corey Hashey died in the blaze at the Blue Ridge Apartments in Wheaton. The fire was reported about 4:30 a.m. Thursday. 7 area fire departments fought the blaze. Springfield's 18th annual Turkey Trot broke a record. Some 8,500 people took part in the 5K walk run in downtown Springfield. Last year, there were just more than 8,000 participants. In 1994, the first Turkey Trot drew 117 participants. And a man is being questioned in connection with a shooting that killed a woman in Caulfield. 26-year-old Patience Cluett died after being shot in the chest. The shooting was first reported as accidental. The man being questioned has not been charged. For the Ozarks News Network, I'm Arlen Summers.
'Twas the month before Christmas, and oh, what a sight. Topless trucks, ugly cars, and SUVs cruise the night. But stop all the worry and cry nevermore. To the east lies the world's greatest accessory store. Truck tops and tube steps and floor mats and liners and all that is needed to make your ride look finer. Visit our showroom today and trick your ride to the max. You don't have to pay Springfield or Greene County sales tax. On Highway 60, just 10 minutes east, Sportsland Pickup Covers. Get the most for the least.
Sportsland Pickup Covers.
Join us from 7 to 9 p.m. Sunday nights on AM 560 KWTO for Armed American Radio. That's Sunday night from 7 to 9 p.m. on AM 560 KWTO.
Class, it's time to meet up with your USAPrepares.com instructor, the original survival economist, Vincent Finelli. This Friday, 5:30 p.m., Ziggy's at the Lamplighter, corner of Sunshine and Glenstone. USAPrepares.com, setting the standard for preparing America. With a different meetup seminar every week. Expert instructors, expert advice, expert solutions. Radio like never before. Weekdays, 3 to 4 p.m. on AM 560 KWTO. They don't teach this stuff in school.
Breezy and cooler for today as we see mostly sunny skies, the high 47. Clear and cool for tonight, low down to 21. Plenty of sunshine both tomorrow and Sunday, high tomorrow 50. A little warmer on Sunday as the high gets back up to 60. Turning cloudy on Monday, we will see some rain at times along with a thunderstorm, high at 53. A mix of clouds and sun on Tuesday, the high 43. I'm AccuWeather's Jason Lord.
Well, I went down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
And welcome back to Home Repairs and Solutions with your host, Mary Pearson. Mary's guest this morning is Jeff Hansen. And now here's Mary.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Home Repairs and Solutions. And just like Gary said, we do have Jeff Hansen here. And I kind of want to start where we kind of left off at the first half with this leaf situation. And I see it a lot. We went home the other night. We were on the way home. And you could just see clouds of smoke all over the place. And people were piling up their leaves and setting them on fire. Some of them do it like kind of in the ditch between the road and their property, and they're burning them stuff. Driving through that smoke and stuff just about chokes me to death. That has got to be
a
something
waste
toxic
of natural
or something.
resources.
Yeah, that is just terrible. But you're saying that if people want to bring those to you, to your location there in Hollister, is that correct?
Yeah, we have one in Hollister. We have one there in our office in Reed Springs. We have the one over here at Brookline. See, the city of Springfield, and I want to throw that phone number out for you again. If you have a question, folks, the phone number is 862-9977, 862-9977. The city has their facility out here. They do a great job. Okay, I'm not knocking the city. Mike and them guys out there are friends of ours. They send a lot of people to us when they're out of compost. We make 2 different levels of compost, but that's taxpayer dollars.
Right.
This is Jeff Hansen and the community dollars, you know, and so people say, well, I've got to come out there and pay you $5 or $10. Well, a lot of times what we do is if people come out there and they pay us a tipping fee, Mary, to get rid of their leaves, then in the spring, if they hold the receipt and they bring it back and they buy $70 worth of mulch, we try to take the tipping fee off.
Yes. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Okay.
Sure.
And it, I don't have tax dollars funding me. I don't have landfill dollars funding me.
Right.
Okay. They charge a tax at the landfill. Part of that comes back. You're paying for it, folks, one way or the other. Everybody always tells us, I can go to the city and I can get compost for less money. You can't get STA certified compost at the city. I guarantee you.
Right.
You can't get the kind of mulch you're getting from us at the city. Now, am I saying that some people are not satisfied with that? And that's fine and dandy. But the issue here is the air quality here, if flying back and forth every week like I do. And I talk about this on KRZK, I talk about this on KSGF with Nick Reed. If you've seen the air quality down here, it's horrible. I mean, coming in this time of the year, when I came in here Thursday afternoon at 2:30, there was a haze between Springfield and Branson that was awful. And just like you said, there was leaves being burned everywhere.
Everywhere.
Now, what do we have down here? Primarily south of Springfield, Gary, we have nothing but rock and clay. Lefty Evans is a good friend of mine at Lefty's Well Drilling. And Larry says Lefty says they don't call it Stone County for no reason.
That's exactly right.
It's full. So if we were grinding this material up, mixing it with the grasses mixing it with horse manure and cow manure like we do, letting it compost, and then putting it back in the soil, we could change the soils, Mary. We could get away from all this fertilizer. People want to know why all the ponds and all the lakes are turning green.
Oh, yeah, and they get that yucky, filmy.
It's because we're using so much synthetic nitrogen, and it's all washing off from the rainwater and the storm water, that it's going to ruin our lakes. It's going to ruin everything. And the sooner people realize that the resources that Mother Nature and that God created, Mother Nature has here, if we turn around and use them, and like I said, there's several architectural firms here in Springfield that are on our side. Most of them I've never even met. That know what we do. Like I said, this Sam's right here at Sunshine and 65, when they put that big addition on.
Yeah.
We ground up all those trees instead of burning those. We just did, is it Rossi and somebody here, just did a big apartment complex over here off of Chestnut and Kansas Bypass. It was 9 acres. We ground up all those trees. Now, when we grind those up, all the leaves, the wood, and everything goes back to our facility. It sits there and cooks. Then we regrind it through a smaller screen instead of big pieces the size of your thumb, a foot long. It goes down to 1.5 inch long pieces the size of a pencil. But that's when the nitrogen has already cooked the carbon out of the wood, and then we color it in the reds and the browns and the blacks, and we make all the different colors out of it. But, Republic Services here in Springfield, Kurt Bodendorfer is a great friend, and Kurt believes in what we're doing. And Allied brings us a lot of green resources, grass. They bring us a lot of pallets. And people say, well, pallets are a lot of carbon. You're right. And that's why we don't sell pure carbon. We will mix the pallets in our compost. We will mix the pallets for erosion control socks.
Yes, that you see.
We do all that stuff. We work with Travis over to Roco, and Travis comes and gets all his wood chips from us to fill their erosion control socks to get away from the siltation fence and the fiberglass and all that's a natural thing that Travis is doing there. And it's another great thing. And so we are huge in the recycling side of it and trying to use all the resources that we have. And people say, well, how did you end up in the land clearing? We don't do the clearing. All we do is the grinding, Mary.
Right.
And like I said, so these other companies, these excavating companies here, R&H, Allen here, and like I said, some of the other big contractors, and even the little guys. It doesn't mean just the big guys. We love working with the little guys. We'll go in and grind up an acre or two so that people, when they're building a new home, they don't have all this trash pushed to the perimeter that they got to deal with years later.
Right.
And these builders tell Rick Ramsey is another guy that we work with. Rick's figured out that it's better off to clean this stuff up on the front end, and instead of having to try to get it out after the house is built,
That makes sense.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, and Rick's another huge advocate. If you called him this morning, he'd tell you, you know what, their dirt will grow grass like nobody else's dirt. Well, why is that? It's because it's got organic matter in it. It holds the moisture. It germinates the seed. We don't have all this. Last year we had some companies here in Springfield that sprayed some herbicide here that killed thousands of trees in Springfield. And it's been a real problem. And this stuff it's Imprellis by DuPont, and it's a problem. And I want to get as far away from spraying as I can get in the future. That's why I say I love the organic part of the composting and doing it Mother Nature's way and cleaning up our lakes and cleaning up our storm sewers and all this stuff, because, Mary, our grandkids are not going to know what we've known if we don't stop all the nonsense we got going with all the air quality from burning leaves, all the crap going into the water. I mean, it's got to stop.
What do you say to, and we know some people who do this, and if they have several leaves or whatever, what do you say to people who say, well, I just take the lawnmower and I just mulch mine up and I just leave them laying in the yard?
Well, like I said, that I've read articles both ways. The University of Minnesota just did a study, and I do a lot of reading on this stuff, and they had an area that they just kept doing that, and it was fine for 2 or 3 years, but then it started to build up. And it's almost like having thatch from Zoysia or Bermuda from, anytime that you can put those, the trees are sucking the nutrients out of the ground.
Right.
To grow.
Sure.
If you can mulch them up and put them back in the ground, but it's how you do it. If you're aerating it and getting it down in the soil, it's one thing. And, that's another wives' tale on aeration. Aeration, they pull the plugs out of the ground. What's the biggest compactor of soils today? The rain. The rain beats more oxygen out of the ground than anything. Mm-hmm. So all these lawn care companies here in Springfield, that's how they keep you going. They aerate you every year. They overseed you and fertilize every year because it washes right back in and does the same thing. One of the largest lawn care companies in Springfield, I went to 2 years ago to the manager of the company here, and I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I said, I'll take you a challenge. I said, you aerate, give me 2 of your best yards in Springfield. Mm-hmm. You do your lawn care your way, and I'll do the one next to it my way. At the end of the summer, whoever lawn looks the best, if mine looks the best, you have to start doing it my way. If yours looks the best, I'll walk away with my head down. They wouldn't even take my challenge. Because what happens is they aerate every year. They do the same thing. The rain beats those little plugs up. They wash right back in the holes, and the next year you got the same thing. But the way we do it is you aerate it and you spread that compost over the whole yard. There's a machine called a top dresser. If you're one of these people sitting at home that love research and technology, look out. It's a miniature manure spreader with a conveyor belt on the bottom. And it spreads this top dressing. And in fact, Glenn Wickman I hooked him up with the company because I don't know if he got it yet. He's looking into buying some of them. Uh-huh. But you top dress the yard, well, then the organic matter washes in the holes, Mary, before the clay gets busted up again and the soil doesn't compact again. Mm-hmm. So the way to get these lawn care companies out of your pocket and to quit spreading so much synthetic fertilizer and herbicides is start changing the soil. If you feed the soil will feed the plant. But if you just keep spreading fertilizers and it leaches through the soil, you got to keep doing the same thing every year.
Right. That's kind of like treating the symptom instead of the
Absolutely.
cause. So you fix the problem, and then you don't have the
Absolutely.
symptoms, and then everything
the
looks like it's supposed
PGA
to.
And the NFL are now top dressing their fields. Now, why would golf courses and National Football League, why would they be doing that if it didn't work?
Sure. And they always have beautiful looking
Absolutely.
grass and fields.
Absolutely.
and they seem to be, it's always been interesting to me that you will see the grass in people's yards or along the highway, wherever, they will be dying off or not looking good, but the golf courses still look green and lush and beautiful long after everybody else's yards kind of look dead. Absolutely.
And like I said, it's just technology. It's people figuring out where we're headed. And like I said, it's the same way in the tree business. You know, what my theory is, it's called 2 schmucks in a truck. Every time somebody loses a job or something happens, they buy a chainsaw and they got to pick up and they're in the tree business.
Yeah.
And you drive around and you see these trees hacked up, and people, they'll hire them because it's cheaper. Mm-hmm. Well, then their trees are ruined for life. They'll never grow one back. They butchered them. They left stobs. They didn't make the proper cuts at the shoulders, the whole 9 yards. And then they call us and say, can you come and fix it? Well, I would rather be there on the front side, the proactive side, than the reactive side.
Sure.
And that's why we push professionalism. That's why we push recycling of our resources. That's why we pull up with the best looking equipment in Springfield. People say, oh, these guys are more money. These guys, oh, no, we're not any more money. It's just if I'm going to have an example, if I'm going to set an example and I'm going to try to do the best job for people, I don't want to pull up with rusted out, and be sitting down at the bar every night saying I can outdrink everybody. I'm not interested in that lifestyle. I want to take care of my customers, and I want to take care of my employees and do the best job that we can do and offer them the most courteous professional service that we can provide.
Well, and oftentimes, because we have the same thing in our industry, we have
Absolutely.
The same thing that
Absolutely.
you do. Someone will get laid off, and then all of a sudden, they own their own heat and air company. But what we have found, and my husband's done this ever since we've been in business, if there is a proper tool for the job that you're trying to do that will save time and money to the consumer, it's always a win-win.
Absolutely.
It makes the job easier on our employees. It makes it more affordable to our clients, because that would be like, is it more cost effective to dig a ditch by hand or to go rent something that digs the ditch?
Sure.
So if you have the proper tools and the proper equipment, you can do the job right and better, and oftentimes very competitive
Sure.
price because of the time and labor element.
Well, that's what we tell people all the time, and Gary will appreciate this. We'll have people call us and say, well, I've got a 12-inch stump in my yard from a tree that's been down for removed 2 years ago, and how much would that cost to remove it? Well, whatever it is, $75.
Right.
Well, they'll say, oh, that's too expensive. I can't afford that. Well, then they'll call you back 3 weeks later and say, well, I just hit that stump with my lawnmower, and it just cost me $300 to have my shafts bent. Folks, get those stumps out of your yard. They're
Absolutely.
nothing but eyesores. They're nothing but problems for your grandkids, for your lawnmowers. They just start storing termites and everything else.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And get them out of there, and don't give them a resource to eat. And it's not worth it. And it just, like I said, there's just too much equipment. Those stump grinders, stump cutters, they call them, will just take those stumps right out of the ground. They're gone. You can put soil back in them. There was a gentleman down there by my house in Kimberlene City that had 2 36-inch oak trees that the power company removed because they kept growing into the power lines.
Yeah.
And they finally said, they're on our easement. They're going.
They did a lot of that this last year
Yes,
or
they
so.
did.
A
bunch.
lot. Yeah.
And so we removed them both, and he said, and I can actually have grass back in here. And I said, you clean up those wood chips. And I said, come and get our soil, plant grass on it, and I guarantee you by this fall, I went by his yard coming in here Wednesday, you can't even tell there was a tree there.
Yeah.
And when people realize that, and like I said, it's just a matter of being a trust. We didn't win the Torch Award from the Better Business Bureau, which is the top honor you can get after 23 years by not being an honest and ethical company. Are we perfect, Mary? Absolutely not. Do we make mistakes? Absolutely.
Sure.
But
all
will
do.
we make it right? Absolutely.
Sure.
And so if you have tree care that you need done, you need mulch, you need dirt, you need compost, remember us in the spring. Call us this fall. Like I said, tree care right now. Here's another thing people don't think about for both of you. This is the best time of the year to do tree work.
Sure.
You don't have any disease infestation. You don't have bugs flying around. You don't have flowers in your yard to worry about the tree limbs falling down on your flowers. You don't have drought stress. It's cooler.
Right.
Now is the best time to call us and get a price on getting that dead tree removed, getting those dead limbs removed, raising the canopy on your trees and getting it off the roof of your house or any structures in your yard, your sheds, your power lines. That's what blows my mind is people will call us in the middle of the night and say, oh, it's snowing. We got 6 inches of snow and my power line, my weatherhead, which is what it's called in the house, has just been pulled out by a tree limb. And it's like, you know what? We could have done this a month ago and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Exactly.
So be proactive. Pick up the phone, 877-8733, and give us a buzz here this morning at 862-9977. We just got a couple minutes left. If we can answer a question for you, we'll be glad to do it.
Well, and something I was going to say is that you really want to get that dead stuff out of there because in the wintertime, if we have any kind of ice or anything at all, then that stuff starts snapping off. How many times have we seen pictures of people with car limbs on or tree limbs on their car, on their house? There's really no need to let that happen.
You can do a lot to prevent ice damage. And like I said, we have a permit, a DNR permit for the Evans Road Jernigan Quarry over here between Ozark and Fremont Hills. Ozark and, I'm drawing a blank, where the new St. John's, anyway.
Yes.
And we're going to try to get it up and going this year and doing the same thing over there, giving people a place to bring their, I don't knock people for doing stuff themselves. If they want to cut their tree down, just don't burn it. Come over and give us $15 or $20 to grind it up, clean up the air quality down here. I think we need to be good stewards of our environment, good stewards of our resources, and these wood products are great resources that we don't need to be watching go up in flames. Yes, do I have a wood stove? Yes, will we have a campfire in our home tonight? Absolutely. But I'm just saying, just to go burn it, to be burning, just to light it up, and the leaves and the whole 9 yards, like I said, we have too many things we can do. And be good stewards of what God's given us. And I want to say I appreciate you inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be on here with you.
Well, you always have such great information. And, trees, like we talk about trees and yards and all that, you can spend a lot of money on landscaping and things like that, make sure you do it right. You don't want to
Absolutely.
spend all that money and find out that your stuff isn't growing properly or that something has happened, that was a mistake. And so one of the things that I think is important is to make sure that when you're going to do something like that, do it right.
Absolutely.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes. I had my trees pruned 2 years ago.
Sure.
And about how often, and they did a very good job. One of your competitors, All About Trees, did a very
Noel's
good
a good
job.
man.
I was really happy with them.
Sure.
But how often do I need to have that done?
Generally speaking, Gary, about every 5 to 7 years.
Okay. I'm looking up there, I'm thinking, do I need to start thinking about it again real
Species,
soon?
again, has something to do with it, but oak trees, because they get shaded out, they get a lot of dead wood in, but if they were done properly, and Noel does a nice job, is usually about every 5 to 7 years.
Sweet gums.
Sweet gums, I mean, you're going to be in that same area. And don't you wish you didn't have all those sweet gum balls, though?
Oh, yes.
I hate those trees. I'm sorry.
And don't be snagged by these people going around telling you about Florel, that they can spray them with an herbicide that'll it's another way to get in people's pocket.
Okay.
Does it work? Well, it's almost like a woman in pregnancy. If you happen, and I'm not saying that to be crude, there's about a 2 or 3 day window there that if you happen to hit them when they're budding perfectly and you spray it, it'll kill most of them. It doesn't kill all of them. But the stuff is caustic. It'll eat the paint off your gutters, off your car. And it's not something, again, that I have ever sprayed. We have walked away from tens of thousands of dollars because I'm not interested in spraying that kind of stuff on people's yards.
Yes, I put up with it every year.
Yep.
Raking those gumballs.
Either that or get rid of the tree. That's the way to deal with it. So
Well, too much shade there to get rid of.
There you
too
go.
Too many years.
Absolutely,
of growing back.
buddy.
That's your
They're beautiful
choices.
trees, but I
Absolutely,
gotta.
they are.
Yes, I agree. They are, but they're such a mess. They're such a mess. And we had one of those too. And when Paul would mow and stuff, I mean, they're a lot of maintenance.
There's actually a little machine now for about $350, and I'm drawing a blank now. They actually wanted me to be a distributor that'll pick those balls up, and I'll get Mary the name.
Really?
And she can oh yeah,
Wow.
and it works well.
Wow. Okay, it looks like that are we about out of time here, Gary?
We are at the end of the hour, so
Oh,
you
my
can wind
goodness.
things up, and we'll.
Well, I just want to
play
thank
the music.
everyone for being with us today. Thanks to the callers that had some great questions. And I want to thank you very much, Jeff, for being
Thank
on the
you
show.
for the
It was
invitation.
great
I
to have
appreciate
you.
it.
So everyone have a safe and happy rest of the weekend and come back next Friday. This is Home Repairs and Solutions. We're here every Friday from 10 to 11 on KWTO 560 AM.